Welcome back to the Black Strategy Repair YouTube channel. Today we're working on another Area 51. This one is an Area 51 Site 4 in a Sega Titan cabinet, or STV cabinet, or most commonly known as a Sega Die Hard cabinet. Technically, Titan STV is the correct name, but everyone calls them a Die Hard cabinet because that's the game these cabinets are most known for. I'm not sure why, but a good many of these Die Hard cabinets got converted to Area 51s and other light gun games. Not 100% sure why on that, but I think I have 3 of these cabinets, and not a single one is not a light gun game. The first thing we're going to do is actually repair this gun. I could replace the half, but honestly, it's not really worth it. We can do some repair to this, though, to make it look a little bit better. You almost never see this kind of cable with light guns, but it is by far my favorite kind of light gun cable. It weighs basically nothing, is fairly strong. I mean, you can cut the rubber ones easy enough, you can cut this one easy enough, but it's super flexible and weighs basically nothing, so it's not like a stiff rubber one where you're kind of, like, weighing the gun down by the cable. You barely even notice this cable. It is absolutely fantastic, and I've honestly thought about switching these to my personal Area 51 cabinet, but that's a lot more work than I want to deal with for some awesome cables. Tempting, though. I've gone ahead and fully disassembled the gun. The other side's in pretty good shape. This is the side that has all of the damage, so let's get this repaired. Now, this gun half's never going to be perfect, but we can at least make it look a little bit nicer by using some JB Weld and a piece of tape there to make our shape. Fill that up with some epoxy, and then we can have that, and we can also re-epoxy this little disc back on here so we can actually screw it back together right there. Now let's work on the electronic issues. The hard drive did die. I replaced the hard drive, and I believe it had another issue that we need to figure out. It is plugged in, and it is intermittently sounding like a dying animal, but it looks like we are booting up. We have Atari Games. Yes, will it actually fully boot? Oh my god, what is that noise? Okay, now we're just power cycling. So, that's the issue. Here is the motherboard assembly. Now, don't do what I did and buy a pre-programmed hard drive. That was before I realized it took about 5 minutes to do. So, let's figure out what's going on. I'm going to grab a voltmeter so we can test voltages and see what voltages we're getting. The dying animal noise appears to be coming from that power supply. Interestingly, with motherboard unplugged, that power supply sounds correct. And measuring voltages, we're getting 5, 12, and -5. -5 is like 6, which is a little high, but not an issue. So that's not the issue. Plugged it back in, and it is working fine. The coil whine is basically gone. Now we just have the CRT noise, and that was it. Basically, there was some dirt in the 60-pin connector, and that was seriously causing this issue, and has caused this machine to sit here for like a year without me doing anything to it, because I thought I needed to put a new power supply in it. Okay, well that was simple. I guess I should have looked into that sooner. The next thing we're going to work on is the sound. The sound works, it's just suspiciously quiet, which has me very concerned. I'm hoping it's just turned down really low. Opening up this front panel, we can see the original layout drilled in the plastic here. Very cool. We got some HAP coin mechs here. Oh, I hate these brown plastic coin mechs. They're fine for quarters, but you can't do anything to them. You can't convert them to tokens or nothing. They're basically the cheapest coin mechs you could possibly get, and they show. But I guess they'll work for this machine, because I'll sell it as a quarter machine. That's fully off. I lost sound completely. Okay, so there's definitely an issue here. What in the world? We're just going to give that thing a little bit of spritz from electrical contact cleaner. I guess everything's getting electrically contact cleaner there. I probably should have put a straw on that, but work that back and forth. There we go. Now we're starting to get some volume in the higher ends. Just going to work that back and forth for a little bit to get all the carbon build up and going junk out of this potentiometer, and we should be good to go. Even on max volume with that potentiometer, it's still rather quiet, and it looks like there's actually an adjust volume in the actual settings menu, so let's turn that up so we can actually get some real sound out of this bad boy. God, could they have picked a worse audio to tell you how loud the volume's at? There we go. I think that's a pretty good volume level, because now I can actually adjust this from a fairly quiet amount of sound to very loud if I need it, so I think that's a pretty good volume. Now that we have a pretty decent amount of audio, let's give this thing a bath. It's gonna need other stuff as well. I need to straighten that marquee, and at least try to straighten that marquee. We'll see if it just shatters and we have to buy a new one. But let's give this thing a nice clean, because it is in desperate need of it. Once we clean the outside, we'll also do the inside, but let's just start here on the outside. And there we go. It cleaned up some. Not as nice as I would have liked. This black plastic, I think we're going to need to do some stuff too to make it actually look black. But it looks better. In an attempt to make this look black again, we're going to try some black trim detail stuff I've used on my car before. We're going to try it here on the side so it's out of the way if it ends up looking terrible, but let's give it a little bit of a try. Well, you can kind of see where I tried it. We'll see how long this stuff actually lasts on keeping this black. On the car, it didn't last very long, but technically this isn't going to be in direct sunlight, so hopefully it'll keep its black a little bit longer. And it has been a day. I peeled off the tape, and this is what we're left with. So now let's grab some sandpaper and a razor blade, honestly, and shave this to shape. I went ahead and roughed up the plastic with some sandpaper to hopefully have something for paint to stick to. Now we're going to try and paint this thing, hopefully the correct color. Ultimately, if this doesn't turn out, we'll just get a new gun, but I figure I might as well try it before I add more plastic to the landfill. Apparently, I'm not wrong for wanting to repair this gun. I did some looking, and on eBay there is actually a replacement this side shell for sale. But it's for a more modern HAP 45, so it would not match up to the other half that I have, so it wouldn't actually help me any. The only real option would be to buy a new or a used HAP 45, and that would cost me like 80 bucks. So unless somebody wants to spend an extra $100 on the machine, they're getting this gun. Now, if this was a mint condition original Area 51 cabinet, I could 100% see putting a brand new gun on it or a used gun, making the guns look absolutely incredible. But the issue is, this is an Area 51 in a Sega Titan cabinet, and while this Sega Titan cabinet looks awesome, I do like the look of these cabinets, there's no graphics, there's nothing that makes it look super awesome. The person buying this machine is buying it to play it, not to look at it. And I mean, if somebody wants a new gun in this thing, sure, I'll give them a new gun, but they're gonna pay for that, and honestly, I personally would not want to pay an extra $100 for a machine just to get a new gun, when the gun is perfectly usable. It just has some physical damage to it. Well, it's been a day now, and this section actually stayed pretty black. I like that look, so I guess we're gonna use some black trim renewer on the rest of this cabinet, because if you look closely, it's pretty dull, so let's get that stuff on this and see what it looks like when we're done. We're going to take some more of this stuff and a microfiber, and we're going to buff it into the plastic. Basically, this stuff just rehydrates the plastic some, making it nice and black. Some people use like a torch and stuff to try and turn their plastics back to the right color. Sure, it looks really good for a few days, but it dries out much faster and much worse. So don't do that. That's how you ruin your plastic. There we go. That's looking pretty nice. Now we just have to do the rest of the cabinet. Now here's a spot we should get a pretty damn good before and after on. Oh yeah, that looks incredible. Now make sure you do a spot test when you're working with this kind of stuff, on really anything actually. Do a spot test, make sure it's not going to damage your plastic any before you go ahead and start doing it on a high visibility area. Unfortunately, I ran out before I got to the other side because that bottle was fairly empty, but this side got done and it looks absolutely incredible. That definitely makes this cabinet look a whole lot nicer. And there we have it, one reassembled gun. I mean, it's missing the sight. I figured that was going to be more work than it was possibly worth to shape. And I think I'm right, honestly. If I looked at this gun and say, huh, it's missing a sight, that's weird, and not really think anything more of it. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was, and doesn't have a hole there anymore, and it is a perfectly usable gun. It looks good enough for a, well, Sega Titan Area 51 cabinet. And here's what we're looking like on the interior. As you can see, it's just as dirty down here at the bottom. That's pretty disgusting. Let's get this cleaned out. Well, apparently it wasn't actually as dirty as I thought. It wasn't supposed to be black. It was supposed to be this, like, bluish gray color, which is interesting. Also, that is a blue power supply, which you know is old, because I have never seen a blue one of those before. Nobody makes that. Now, that was put in whenever this was switched to Area 51, as this power supply apparently does not output negative 5 volts. It's literally the only thing that thing's there for, to provide the negative 5 volts for this board, which I think does the sound. I'm tired of looking at that screw being missing, so I'm going to go grab a screw for that, and then we'll fix this up. I have remembered why this game is sitting here, and I haven't touched it. This thing needs the monitor adjusted, and it's in a goddamn Sega Titan cabinet. I've already redone the CRT. It has a new flyback and new caps on it, so that CRT's fine. We just need to tune it properly. Another problem with these Sega Titans, though, is tuning the CRTs can be very difficult depending on what CRT is in them. If it's the proper CRT and it's really accessible through this door, awesome, but if it was ever converted and switched to a different CRT, it becomes a whole lot more complicated. See, I need to adjust the color drive and color cutoff stuff that's on the top of the neckboard that I can't access unless I stick my hand up with really high voltage. That's not something I particularly want to do. Had they put another access panel right here at the top, it would be no problem. But they didn't, because, well, this is a stupid cabinet design, and that's all the more they give you for access to the monitor. To be fair, I don't think these are meant to have a Wells Gardner K7000 in them. If they were, then this is a really stupid design, but this is a K7000 in this, and I can't access the controls to adjust it because there's no way to get to them. So I might have to pull the monitor out of this cabinet, adjust it, and put it back in the cabinet. That is absurd and really, really annoying. It looks okay-ish on the screen, but the problem is the light guns aren't functional on it because it's not quite bright enough. It's nice and dark out, which is why I can see it somewhat well, and I have the brightness absolutely cranked and the contrast, but I can't turn the contrast up anymore or it starts to light bleed, and I can't have that. But I need it to be brighter, so I need to adjust the goddamn color drives, but I can't adjust the color drives because I cannot access the color drives. But I guess since we're here, we might as well see if I need a new marquee or not. Man, I can't imagine is original. That's just the mirror holders holding this piece of glass into this marquee, but here's the marquee itself, and I think we're probably just going to want to replace this thing. It is not in great shape, and for about 25 bucks, a new one's probably going to look a million times better. I'm going to be honest, that turned out a million times better than I expected it to. You can still see the cracks, but that's totally usable. I might probably still going to get a replacement one for it, but that'll be after I get this damn monitor to track properly. So I guess I might try a third light gun that I know is fully functional in this thing, but since both of these light guns are not tracking in pretty much the same areas, it's either going to be an issue because this tube is slightly burnt and I have to do a tube swap, or I can hopefully adjust it. I actually might just tube swap this because I think I have a K7000 chassis up in storage that is not burned. So we might, not chassis, but tube. So I might end up tube swapping this monitor. We might end up being able to adjust it so it'll actually work. Whatever it is, I'll see you next time. I might also just let this cabinet sit for another year, and then I'll forget why I let it sit, and then I'll go to work on it and remember, and then let it sit for another year, and it'll just sit indefinitely. But hopefully, I'll get this figured out here soon, and I'll see you next time. If I had a nickel for every Sega Titan cabinet I had that had monitor issues, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot. But why the hell does it keep happening?